This special meeting, would you call the roll, please?
Council President Suzanne Souter,
Here?
Councilperson Joseph Day,
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt,
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway,
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
Here.
Also in attendance, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, Courtney Taylor, Clerk and Finance Coordinator, Jim Wisman, City Treasurer, and Mayor Valerie Leary.
Thank you. I'm going to start by asking Ms. Cantillo to give us an overview of the adjustments that they can put for our consideration since the last meeting.
Thank you. Yes, since the last meeting, we have only made one minor adjustment, and that was based on the discussion at the previous meeting, which was that we added the original requested amount of 32,000 to the the pruning and planting budget line, and that is for the tree area commission with the trees and the responsibility and maintenance of those trees. Sorry. And so we have reduced it to 22,000 and we put it back up to 32,000. So there was just one minor adjustment. I'm sorry. We have the grants to the printout. So the grants are included in here, the details of the fund for each grant. So the expenses and the amount received are also in here as well.
And so the gap, the budget gap at this point with current police expenses is.
The budget gap is sorry. $498,866.
You might say that again?
$498,860.
Still just under 500.
Correct. Okay, so it has not changed much since our last conversation. And again, I just wanted to be clear that unrestricted carryover has been used in the past, and we are able to use that line again to maintain a balance with it.
Okay.
We have any additional adjustments to the carry forward balance since last meeting?
No, we haven't adjusted that because I just wanted to
Okay.
continue this conversation before we determine that.
Does anyone else on council have questions, or the mayor or the treasurer questions or comments for Ms. Cantillo?
Just to reiterate, we're still in negotiation.
Yes, we are still in contract negotiations, and then I did just pass out this presentation, which has the same information as the budget has. It's just a little graphic, which shows you, it just summarizes the departments of the budget, and has charts and percentages, for the portion of the budget of the past 2-year actual expenditure and this current year's proposed. And then the last slide has the cash available in all city accounts.
Can you send this is PowerPoint, I'm
Sure, yeah.
Can you
I
send
can
that?
send that. Mhm.
You did send that?
No, I can.
Yeah, because I'm like,
Sorry, I realized it printed so tiny after the fact.
Same for me.
Yeah,
I think
I will
all
send
of
it
us
to you.
are-
Yeah, I will do that. Sorry, I was on the same paper.
it's PowerPoint, that's fine, but thank
Okay,
you.
yes, I will do that.
Okay, anyone else have any comments or questions? Then before we move on to further discussions, we'll take public comments. Anyone that wish to say anything? As usual, state your name and where you live, and you have 3 minutes, and this is gonna be our time.
Phil Gross, 1301 13th Street. I'd requested a copy of the proposed budget only because it's nice, the council, and now I see Miss Leary considering the budget. The only one I could find was from 2022. The residents should be able to get a copy of it because it's nice that you're considering it, but input from the public, even though only 2 people kind of showed, but still, there's people that are interested in the direction of where the tax money goes. So I would appreciate being able to pick one up tomorrow so that I could comment. Unfortunately, can't comment on tonight, but tomorrow night. As far as other things, I'll reiterate from the last meeting, the Newcastle Partnership should receive zero money because they do their own fundraising. Two of their responsibilities have been taken away by the city hiring a person specifically for promotions and outreach and social media. So there's zero need for the city to pay. They can do it from their own revenue that they get because there is no accountability. The public cannot see what they're doing. And me as a taxpayer, I'm concerned that if city money's going there, but we don't know what's being done with it, I say absolutely not. Thank you very much for upping the money to the tree commission because they genuinely plant today for tomorrow. So future generations get to enjoy and appreciate the money spent today for trimming, for planting. So thank you for doing that. As far as COVID money and ARPA money, I think every last cent should be spent on the River Rise studies because we cannot do anything until the studies are done. And I've talked to enough people in the state that there will be nothing as far as shovels in the ground for at least 4 to 5 years. And without a study, that'll be pushed off because there's no way for them to do anything without knowing what they're doing. There's got to be a master plan. So also I'd appreciate if you could parcel that money into the studies for river rise and flooding because it's getting worse and the different committees keep approving more projects. So thank you.
I'd just like to say that the website does have the budget of the past couple of years along with audit reports, so please make sure that you look on the
For
website.
those who are zooming in, it's under department and budget audits, and they're listed many years back.
And then,
What's the latest year available, sir?
sorry,
2024? No, 2024 budget is up there. Thanks.
yeah, thank you.
And I would like to say that in terms of the Sea Rise, this federal program that we've been accepted into includes the engineering study, which the estimated cost for that is $2 to $3 million, which is well beyond what we have in reserves for.
Start today.
It's a complex project. We need the engineering studies and it begins with public meetings. It's possible it will start in the fall. So I'll just say that. Does anyone else have any comments? David?
I just have one quick, oh, I'm sorry, about the River Rise. I attended a DNREC program a few years ago about the River Rise and all the things that are causing it. And apparently the state has their finger on it, to what's going on, so I don't know how to sum it up.
The engineering study is not about why the river's rising, it's about what to do about it. And, it's a complex issue because of our extended shoreline, and that's why the engineering study will be extensive. So we're working through both of our senators' offices to try to find out what's up with this. The federal budget did reduce the funding to the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is the one running the program that we've been accepted to. They're still hopeful that it will move forward, but it is delayed for at least a few months. As I said, they hope to start in October with the study. So we'll let that go with that for now. The next item on the agenda is the ARPA projects and spending. Are there any further comments or discussion of that tonight?
No, at the last meeting, we just, again, provided information about the spending and the obligation or the budgeted amounts in this budget for the ARPA funds. But just remember the ARPA funds have now been put into the general fund.
I'll just mention about this that since we have discussed this in the past, that I will withdraw my request from the council for playground, given the current fiscal projections, and I'm hoping to revisit that conversation mid-year. In the sense that we're doing better fiscally, but that's just what I I have to say, I'm very sad about it, but the reality is different, so I don't want to add more burden to our budget currently. I know we have trimmed a lot across the city budget to make things somewhat smaller. I know that the number is still rather large, but so I think more appropriate timing is to wait for that.
Okay. Any other,
It just reminded me of one other item that we did remove from the budget, which was equipment for Public Works to do the lawn service. And that, you know, if the budget should allow at the mid-year review, that we will explore looking into that purchase through ARPA funds at that time.
okay, oh, and the other thing that has been taken out, I think early on, is the outreach coordinator position will not be funded beyond August. So the argument that the city's paying for that, they shouldn't contribute to anyone else to do promotion of the city only applies after, does not apply after August. Discussion of taxes.
Talk about one thing that I remember is, I brought up in our very last meeting when we talked about ARPA, chess, for our residents to hopefully be able to put some chess out. I don't think it's appropriate to introduce that now too, but I'm thinking it's probably not gonna be more than 10,000 in the budget too, so I don't know how, you know, I would like to entertain that motion just as a topic of discussion tonight, just to see if, you know, it's something, I'm reading more and more about like a loneliness syndrome that started with pandemic, but that's present with a lot of senior citizens especially. So just some gathering place that we can create in the city for folks to come in and not just play chess, but, you know, any board games really. It's that is less important rather than the idea of having some buddies that you can talk to and, you know, just kind of have that mental health and, you know, even bigger sense of community. So that's just something I've been thinking about lately and, you know, wondering if we as a city can contribute to. So.
I do think that's a good idea to have some kind of gathering place for the elderly. And I don't mean, you know what I mean? It could be anybody that would come there and sit and talk, but I know.
Yeah, I'm playing too, but yeah, it's not age requirement. Yeah.
But I would find working with you or Joe or whoever on that. I think we have some opportunities for grants that might be able to go, that could be requested for that. I spoke with Mr. Clinton today on another topic. And I received a rather extensive list of people he's interested to approach for some other things. And maybe we can approach for that because it would look nice, sponsored by.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just older folks or even just adults.
absolutely.
Children, it could be an intergenerational thing
Yeah.
to have, you know,
Absolutely,
adults teaching
absolutely.
children how to play chess and playing chess with them and all that good stuff.
In my hometown now, there's, it's, you know, 5 to 10 maybe chess sets outside, you know, it's outdoor chess sets I'm talking about.
Are they
Where-
big? The big ones?
They're like a
or
big one,
little?
yeah, they're big ones, but they're really light, they're not really heavy, they're just plastic. They're typically part of the, you know, each neighborhood and then parks within the city have their facilities too, and they are from the sunrise to sunset. People spend time there. I grew up just watching that whole life and I've been reading about it lately too, as a potential tool, like in New York, you know, New York City Central Park has something like that where they have tables.
I've seen
tables
the
with
ones
chess,
in-
you know, sets. I mean, I think you bring the chess plate is engraved in it, but I don't know how the chess pieces work.
Yeah, I don't know where they get the pieces, but I think we're parking is one, have them do it.
And I'm open to both big or little solutions for it, just to give people space, you know, kind of even putting benches back in Battery Park that may be able to have that imprint on. Is, you know, shade is most important there. Let me say that, so then we're creating a.
We're working on that too, I
Yep.
think. Any other comments on the ARPA money? Okay, well, the final item is a discussion of taxes.
Can I just go for a vote to add the 10,000 in our budget right now, and then, you know, if we find sponsorship, we can, you know, cancel that.
Have you, I mean, when you say 10,000, is that a guess on your part or you've done
There
some
was-
research?
There was a research done by a city administrator on the equipment, and I think it was between 1,500 to 3,000, depending on which option we go. I'm just asking council for 10 because I don't know how much would it cost to build a
Sorry.
surface. So it's really quick for our public works department to, it's just my best estimate that 7,000 should be enough in pavers, you know, two different colors of pavers. could be installed. I'm not sure, but the 3,000 is
You're
the
not
highest.
talking about tables, you're talking about.
This is for something we can install on the grass under trees in here, for example.
And they play on the big one on the ground? Oh, I was thinking of tables,
Like a,
like a Harry
Size.
Potter only with.
Yeah, it's kind of like a.
Is there a security issue where you have to, how do you make sure that the people don't disappear?
I think you can, let's say it's in Battery Park, you can utilize existing, infrastructure there from trustees, for example. And I don't have that.
I mean-
But,
I mean, that's something people could bring for themselves, the pieces.
the
'cause they're
bigger
not
pieces, no, bigger pieces.
No, not the
But if small, if we choose to go with small
If we go
chests,
with the tables with the engraved boards, then
Oh, that's.
Yeah, so if we have
needed
tables,
is the
correct.
plastic pieces, which you can buy
You
at the
bring
dollar.
Some people have their own pieces they like to play with, you know.
Oh, well, I'm thinking checkers with the little discs, you're right.
either way. You can play both, yeah, correct.
Oh, I thought the board's different.
But we didn't look into the tables, how much benches would be to be installed, but, and the table, so that would be a different type of analysis. But
we can.
we can look for next meeting, I guess. If you can add and propose, we can vote for next meeting on
On the total.
on the tables, I guess, so we can do more things.
Okay.
Is that
What item was the benches in? Sorry.
The benches are in,
Parks and Equipment, I think.
Wasn't somebody, the playground committee, I think, looking for a grant for benches?
they are, but they need them.
Oh, it's a matching thing, okay.
Actually, they got declined for that
Oh, they
grant from
did.
ARP, yeah. So they're still looking for other grants, but that one came back negative.
Okay, in terms of,
It's on equipment/parts. That's the title of it. Right, 8.
I got you. Yep.
Equipment, right, is that it?
Equipment, yeah, /parts, or dash parts.
Okay.
okay, in terms of,
Yeah.
His,
Oh, yours printed out weird, yeah, it did. If you can't find it on 8, go to 9.
Thank you. Got it, all right, that's us working together.
in terms of the taxes, which is the final item on the agenda, there's been a lot of talk about why do we need tax increases when we have such large surplus and our money in reserves. And if we start using reserves to pay our current operating expenses, we may be okay for 1 year, possibly 2, and then what? And people like to compare government budgets to household budgets. If you're paying your rent or mortgage and your food and your utilities out of your savings account and nothing's coming in, or not enough is coming in, it's not gonna be sustainable. So that's an issue. The other thing that we've discussed, though, is that we know the county's doing reassessments. And we're told we may have those numbers by January, is that right?
January or early spring,
Oh, it's getting later, huh?
yeah.
Because I was thinking, as we discussed, if we wait until we know those numbers, then we'll know how that impacts our tax revenue. So we could potentially make up this roughly $500,000 deficit from reserves for fiscal 25. Once we know the tax assessment changes and how that impacts our total anticipated tax revenue, then we could start to talk about tax changes to begin in July of 25, which is fiscal 26. So I'll just throw all that out there.
Can I just add something?
Sure.
There, 700 Delaware Street, where my office is, the 2 properties next to me, that's been, I assume, developed by the guys from Portofino's. And so that's gonna be a tax-based property that's gonna increase substantially. If you further down, if you go down Washington Street, get down on both sides, after you get down there, hang a right on Seventh. A lot of development potential in that area with signs and what, everything that's going on, so we're gonna have a larger tax base of properties in a few years.
In a few years.
A few years.
Yeah, but right now,
Right.
Yeah, but we're not gonna-
yeah, we're not gonna go broke.
No, but to that point, we are in a healthy financial position today.
We're healthy enough to sustain a year
Absolutely.
potentially of, we're drawing down reserves to make up the gap.
Yeah.
And then, but I don't, that's not sustainable. I
No,
certainly would not be comfortable doing it more than 1 year. And because there's this big gap of what we don't know in terms of how the tax assessment's gonna shake down for us. So it has to be revenue neutral for the county, but not necessarily revenue neutral for the city.
Yeah, I think I would agree with what you're saying, and I think our mid-year budget review, we have to make some decisions.
Right.
Whether we have all the information or not, we have to make some
Right.
decisions. On whether we're gonna need to raise taxes, how much we're gonna need to raise them. But I would agree that we can't sustain on the savings. I think it's a good idea to spend down the savings to a reasonable level, before we increase taxes. But I do think a tax increase is inevitable at this point.
And it's been a long time.
yes, 15 years, and, you know, this will help us move forward and do certain things that the city should do and wants to do in order to work on these special projects and move things forward even further.
Well, and just provide the services our residents expect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, last year apparently we did something similar. I wasn't even aware that we were, using our reserves for this, so I'm glad that this year we're having more focus on this matter. It's okay, I'm willing to admit that. I understood it that we were in surplus, and I understand that it depends how you think about it, right? Because reserves are also part of your budget, so I get that. But I didn't know that we were actually using our savings or reserves to supplement the budget last year, so I would definitely be. Well, my opinion is also that we should have about at least 6 months, if not even a year worth of saving of our budget in our savings and reserves. And then, it's not a good practice for us to to take money out of our reserves to balance the budget. We should be having a more sustainable way to balance the budget. I'm assuming this should be spent for emergencies and, so I agree with what you
Well,
guys are
we
saying.
have over the years rolled over if there was a surplus at the end of the prior year, rolled it over for the current year budget. In the past, those have been smaller numbers, $50,000, perhaps 75. Last year, it was a larger figure, I believe.
Yes.
Well, even this year, we're
And this
trending
year,
about 120, right?
unless something happens in the last few months of the fiscal year, we'll have a significant rollover amount from this year as well. So that's something that we have a practice of doing, and I don't see that quite the same as spending savings, because that's money that was previously budgeted and then not needed, because, we try to be conservative and budget for, say, snow removal, and then if it doesn't snow, we don't spend that money, and so on.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a line right now, but I did that same analysis once I learned at our meetings that, and we did carry over some of the 2023 last year, but the entire number of 400 something, I can't.
Page 35 is that?
Yeah, so the entire 343 from last year, not all of that was carried over from 2023, am I correct? There was some of it carried over, some of it was used out of reserves. So yeah, unreserved, out of the last line
Yeah,
there.
under
Yeah.
the,
Not all of it was carried forward from 2023. For both of those years, both 438 and 380. Because even this year, I think we're trending about 140, if remaining expenses budgeted at 23. Right now, we have revenue with expenses 366, 143. I don't know if you have more revenues coming in, that's being carried forward. But then we're still $500,000 talking about, so I think that was similar situation last year too. Am I correct? And the year before? I'm just saying, we weren't talking about it as a deficit, but it was deficit last year too. in a sense that we carried forward money, but
Right.
we were still using our reserves to cover the difference.
It was a mix.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to be clear, in terms of the difference between restricted and unrestricted funds, restricted funds are money that we have that were grants for specific purposes. So we can't just shift that money and spend it on anything we want to.
Those are the,
It's kind of like projects that you, like the dog park, mobile stage.
those are all the ARPA.
Yeah.
projects.
So it was projects that you guys said, okay, this is what we're gonna do, but we didn't get to them this year.
So we haven't spent it
Yeah.
yet. So those are counted as restricted funds because they've already been allocated to a specific thing.
Going forward, correct? Is that my correct assumption? It'll be on reserve. It'll be
No.
unreserved.
They're-
They'll be reserved.
Yeah, they'll add it, release it and say,
Like,
no, we're not gonna.
Chestnut Street, they decided to run that to the dog park. So now we took off Chestnut Street, but they're not into the dog. It's the restricted fund, so you're, it might be. the
Restricted
base-
fund
it might
balance
be
carry
for you.
forward to 87,60.
It's
Yeah.
restricted because you said it's for that specific.
I was saying going forward in 2024, my understanding, because this is rolling over to general fund ARPA. It wouldn't be showing up there because now it's just part of our general.
It's,
fund.
it's
Is
still
that-
gonna show, it's still gonna show because you designated the money for that project and it was already in the current year. But it also washes out on the other side. It's a wash.
Just my thinking about it. Okay.
So,
But the unreserved fund balance carry forward, page 35, last line. Did it for you. That was, for instance, in 2023, or whatever, that was coming from our
Some of it from prior year
And some
surplus, some
from
of it.
some saving, some from carryover and some from the reserves already. That wasn't exactly communicated.
Yeah, that was my assumption last year too. I honestly thought that we were just carried over surplus from that budget year. And
Okay,
then,
so it was a mix though. And
any other,
And like we said before, but I just want to reiterate, it's acceptable to use some. We're not using we were not using a substantial amount. We still have a healthy savings, but we want to maintain a healthy rainy day fund in the event of an emergency or something, where we don't have revenues.
yeah, I mean,
We haven't accepted.
just for the public's information, right now, if 8.97 is unrestricted, we're talking about maybe 6%. That will be used if we decide to use all $500,000 of our current deficit. That would bring it down to about 8.5 million, which would still be more than 12 months of our projected budget for next year. So, you know, even that,
and of that, what, 1.3 roughly is the ARPA money? That's left.
1.4, something like that.
Yeah, so even if you take that out, you still have a healthy reserve for emergencies. Is there any further discussion or comment?
The only thing I wanted to say is the chief was here, but he had to leave, he had to run.
Well, I
So-
gathered that he
Yeah,
got a
so
call.
he was here in case anybody
And I
has
saw him go out with
questions.
the lights flashing, so.
But if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to take them back to him.
Oh, about the fire department. Any questions?
do
Yeah.
these numbers include the nonprofit grants?
Yes,
Yes, all of the requested amounts.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's roughly 99.
99. So I don't know if we want to discuss that any further tonight.
That's revenue, that's okay. We were gonna discuss this, that's okay, I just, that was. My question is, I can't find right now the page, but the ORPT grant from DNRAC. We received last year for Battery Park, 160,000, I believe. Oh, sorry, not this.
Mhm.
Okay. I think there was an ORPT pre-submission already,
They're
but it's budgeted for 0, so I'm just a little confused about it. I can find it where it is.
even received the authorization to proceed with an application.
And what is it for that grant? What did we request? And what are we requesting it for? I think it's again for battery, is that correct?
Yeah, it was for the mulch.
The mulch?
Hold on, I have that.
Is it 100,000?
37 last line, I
Thank you.
think.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, last,
Kind of.
the DENREC RPT grant for Battery Walk.
So you won't see it on the grant side because the grants only includes what we actually have as in when I did. the
Already
report.
committed?
Yes, we don't include anything that's we're requesting or later on. So once we receive, if we get awarded the grant, let's say if it's 6 months from now, then you'll start to see them on your monthly council report.
This is a state grant, so I'm assuming we should know by July 1, correct?
No.
But they would
So-
vote it.
In that you apply in like May
Mhm.
for the pre-application, and then around August, September, you're after expectation to proceed with a formal application. And then you don't. have to go to the-
That's because they're waiting for July 1 to get approved funds, and then they know how much they
And
can.
they're reviewed all of the pre-applications to say like, is this feasible for what we would cover?
With
That
ORPT,
makes sense.
Application, Parks and Trail.
and who manages the grants? Dinner,
Mhm.
okay.
And then, I don't know, this conversation for tomorrow about the last page, page 40, separation day grant and separation day fees. Are anticipated to be lower to 21,000 from 33. Is that because that's what the contract is showing currently, or?
So these numbers were ran as of when we did the reports, but grants, these numbers are gonna constantly change based on us spending it. And we just picked out expenses for separation day the other day, we did cut checks. But you have to wait, when we receive, if we get awarded the next grant, then it'll be reflected. The grants, we
Grant
can't,
for next
I
year.
can't put in a number for grants, and Edmonds, what it applied for. I have to actually wait until it physically hits our account.
Okay.
We did.
Grant- Yes, the grants are set up in Edmonds a little different than, like our revenue and expensive line.
Just, just lower numbers. Just to make sure, or-
Did we
Yeah,
apply for the same amount, 33 and 34? Did we apply for a greater?
A greater.
I did just want to clarify that ORPT for this year application was for the second phase of the playground build out.
Oh, there would be some equipment paid. That's good. Okay, gets me a little more, and the amount, sorry? And there's a matching part.
Yes, we requested 125,000.
Okay.
The cost,
Last year,
yeah, the cost is $1,075,000. But the playground committee is applying for other grants, including AARP, the Welfare Foundation, the Longwood Foundation, Centene, Creslea, REI, Latin Q.
So for the matching part for 125, is there a percentage that we need to match as a city? Last year, I think we got money from the bond bill and we used that to match, because then.
Yes, Bonneville is.
But we are able to use bond bill this year as well to match.
If we get it.
Yeah, of course, like granted that we get it, so
Yeah.
that's basically doesn't have to show up in our line here. It's,
It
not
wouldn't
until
show up
received.
until we actually receive it into our.
well, no, the matching part, if we receive, then it would come out of bond bill.
No, but we would receive the Bonneville money and it would show up as a grant.
Okay.
Right?
I think they allowed us to use bond, what we received from bond from the state as a matching funds last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just confirming that we don't have to add a line in our budget to match the 120 percentages. I don't know what they require. Okay, it's okay. Basically, the story moral here is that if successful, we don't have to allocate city funds for 125,000 worth of equipment. Okay. Thank you. And then I don't know if today is the time to talk about separation days, renegotiations. I want to talk about it tomorrow at the council meeting, but I know I don't know when the renegotiations are happening. Wondering if in an effort to increase to, I think what Councilperson Mattery was talking about in prior meetings, revenue streams as a city. It would like to see that contract renegotiated to see what we can, it was a great event, by the way. Thank you, everybody. I'll talk about it tomorrow, but just wanted to ask you guys about renegotiations, timeline and stuff, so that we can be ready as a city.
Well, now, the fee that we pay to the event managers who manage it, that doesn't come out of city money. That they raise that
I
money by
understand.
getting.
They raise that
those-
money in
So
the-
I gather what you're saying is you want them to reduce their fees so that we make a profit on separation day? Is that what you're asking?
suggesting more of a profit share. Of, you know, percentage on a profit share that they have. Currently, I think we just get, you know, cover our expenses. Yeah, it just doesn't sound.
And you want it to be a revenue source for the city.
Absolutely. Obviously, when.
I agree with that. We're considering all, you know, options, taxes is listed here. I think it's prudent to look at all areas and things that wouldn't just be incurred by residents. And Separation Day is one of those.
Well, residents are currently not incurred any expense for Separation Day. They get to enjoy it. It brings people into town. It promotes the town at no cost to the city.
No, I think what his idea here is to get more revenue out of it so that we can reduce the tax amount that we can, you know, or the amount we take out of, you know, our reserves. So
Well,
that, you know,
all right, let's say we made $50,000 on Separation Day, which I think is an extravagantly large
You
number.
make about 15, which goes to them to pay their fee.
I mean, just saying, it wouldn't make that much of a dent in the deficit, is all I'm saying.
No, I don't think it will make a deficit. I just don't think it should be a neutral event for the city. I think you could argue that it's a negative, because of, you know, people are working overtime. As an
That's
example.
covers,
So what I'm saying is they may be more fatigued, the following week from the services that they were doing for the build out of, Separation Day. That's just one example.
All of it's paid out of the grant and sponsorship. The
Right, all
city pays nothing. And those guys, I will tell you, just, I thought it was funny because I asked him why. One of the guys who was out picking up trash Friday night goes, I signed up for this event. I go, I had tickets for, who was it, Kenny Chesney on Friday night somewhere, and I sold my tickets. I'm like, what? You know, why'd you do that? I go, I like the event. I signed up for overtime, and that's what they, Rick Delgado told me. They have a sign up sheet in there for people to sign up for Friday and Saturday night. But it's city pays nothing, and all of the overtime, fire department left, but everything they do and stuff is.
all the security for the fireworks and all that, that's all
Yeah.
covered by the money that's raised by event.
And the
outreach.
grant.
And the grant, yeah. Well, the grant roughly covers the fireworks.
They're about
right?
20,000.
So that's,
25 now.
that's the biggest single
Fireworks, I
expense,
think, are
the
like-
fireworks.
14, 15.
Oh, it's not, okay, I thought it was more, but yeah, some, it was, they're not as much as we thought, but they're
No.
great, but. But going along with what you say, I'd certainly like to see, and thank you to Antonina for getting us involved this year, you know, whether guest bartending or information tent or anything like that, but I would like to, it used to be that this was a total city event. Totally, Joe can tell you, he worked on the committee and it, for reasons we don't need to discuss here, it just kind of went away. And it would be nice to see the city maybe take ownership of it again. And that might be where you get some of your revenue. There is a lot of sponsorship involved. I have final numbers, I think you gave me from earlier, before COVID, I think they were though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that might be something you might want to share with rest of council so they can actually see what the expenses were.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming from a place where, you know, we have to rethink MSC, you know, appropriation, all those things, you know, franchise, everything that we're, you know, as a city collect, you know, as we have to showcase to residents that we're doing everything that we can to, you know, evaluate and, you know, 11,000 here, 11,000 there adds up, right? So like, I think it's, that event doesn't happen without the city. So, you know, to suggest to them profit share, no matter how large or small it is, it's, I think, fair because I think Brian and Andrea and I were at the information table selling tickets at one point, and two ladies came over to us talking about the disability parking, right? The event sponsor is not gonna be on the hook for that. Who's gonna hear about it is the city of Newcastle. So I'm saying, I agree totally. It's a great event for the city. I loved it. My daughter was on rides. We had a lot of fun. It was great to see so many people come and, you know, enjoy all the facilities of the city everywhere. Parade was great. What I'm saying is, you know, because it's revenue neutral for us, then we can't even offset some of these things that we hear from other folks that come to our town and say, it was disappointing in that sense that I had to walk or, or whatnot, right? So there's stuff that we're on a hook for as a city that we are unliable for because we are the host at the end of the day. So just,
I just want to
food for
say,
thought.
to your point, there's definitely opportunities for us to have more ownership in this and work more in partnership with Event Allies instead of them just running it the entire show. They do a wonderful job. I will certainly give them that. And they have been wonderful to work with. I think we also need to recognize, what they do and how
Absolutely, yeah.
how big of a deal it is. So like fireworks, for example, they manage that and they work with that vendor. That is a huge, liability for the city. And of course, we are involved in those conversations with our insurance partners and everything like that. But going forward, there are opportunities to see how we can become more involved in the planning for it. So we'll definitely have that conversation.
But the other thing is, in 2 years, it will be the 250th anniversary. And there's discussion about making it an even bigger event. And I don't know that we want to make too many changes prior to that, because that's going to be even more complex to manage. And if we're tweaking the model as to how it is run and how it's managed, it might not be good to do that tweaking at the same time that we're expanding the size of the event. And we may want to, see how we can get more involved and take more ownership, but still let Event Allies do the bulk of it, since they have the experience and the knowledge as to how to do it and do it well. And then perhaps in 2027, we can look at new models for managing it.
Yeah, America 250 will be a big thing. The state of Delaware has their own America 250 commission. Margaret Hughes out of Delaware Archives, State Archives is one of the heads of it, as is a gentleman, Richard Carter. But Event Allies will need to have a full understanding of the historic importance that the city, it's just not running a parade by the courthouse. It's what happened here in the city, how it happened, why it happened, everything that happened. So that can be fully represented for America 250. And the National has an America 250 commission
Right,
as
and
well.
perhaps we need folks from Newcastle to get involved with that state level committee, since we're Delaware's independence.
Right.
And be part of that, and also hopefully get somebody at the News Journal to notice that it happens.
Yeah, really.
I think we can manage that.
I can reach out to Margaret. I'm in touch with her regarding the Lafayette stuff going on and.
So, what would they like from the city to participate? Because that needs to start now.
Yes, okay.
Or shortly.
Courtney, would you mind sharing what you shared with Mayor, with the council, or just me? I don't know if anybody else is interested in your number. And are you privy to newer numbers as well after COVID? I'll be curious to see prior and
I
after
think they
COVID.
only had it last year, if I'm not mistaken.
That's fine, yeah.
It's just sitting on my desk.
I can pull it. I think it was just, I think for 2 years after COVID, but I can see
That'll
you.
be great, yeah. Anything, that'd be great. Thank you.
You want to talk about contribution?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So at this point, we've
I'm
budgeted.
sorry, you just want it from when Event Allies, I think that's what I gave
I
you.
think it would be good to know even prior when the city was just to get so even 1 year worth of prior to COVID would be good.
And then it took over before COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it was like.
Okay, if I can get them prior to COVID from Event Allies and then after, COVID, just
Okay.
4 years after would be sufficient just to get if it's an outlier year. Thank you.
I'm trying to remember how many.
It was one of the barbecue.
Yeah, the
years.
first barbecue.
6 years.
6 years.
Cause JC's co-run with the city.
He doesn't have enough.
So,
I think it was
okay.
Say contributions.
I'll just perfect. Thank you.
It's like, can I forgot to print, I was printing on all this.
You can take a look.
Oh, sure.
I can see it, thank you. So yeah, at this point, the contributions as requested are $99,000. They've been requested by Arasatha, Goodwill, which is the largest one by a lot. The library, the partnership, which I believe that was included in a parks budget because it was to get benches for the park. So it's not just a chunk of money handed to the partnership to do with as they please. It's for a specific thing.
So the 3,000 was put in the budget, they're requesting it too.
Okay.
Like, it was for the
Yeah.
shades and it got trimmed because we were cutting, so I mean, might as well be added to Encore at this point because they got incorporated since. However, it's a great clarification, but the 3,000 there is just moved out of the request and put in the city.
You're talking about the CCP?
Yeah.
Okay, so the
Sorry,
3,000
Susie.
was put in the post budget, like you said, right, somebody just said that. And then NCCP, because we had talked to them about reducing the bench amount. And that was if, Encore got matching and all of that. And then there was a conversation after that with council about asking NCCP if there was something else we wanted to partner on.
Yeah, because their entire request was initially 3,000,
Right.
all for them matching.
So they would like to request funding for the brochures that they send out. And let me find that.
And that's the 2,000. Okay, but again, it's not just write them a check and they do what they want. Specify exactly what they.
Everything is.
Yeah, it's for the visitors guide, goes toward it. That's not the full cost of it though.
No, it's for 750 or it's a smaller amount.
Okay, and then the other organizations are the Historical Society, which is the next largest to the fire company, but still less than half. The Senior Center, the Encore, which is the nonprofit outdoor recreation group, and then Community Collaboration for Village, which has proposed a program to work with middle school children. Is that correct? Not. Community Coalition, they're proposing.
Yeah.
Is that middle schools throughout the state, the county, and our school district?
I remember certainly right.
It says, any middle school age student living in the city limits of Newcastle, not just middle school age students from Colonial School District. We plan to work with Colonial School District to recruit students for this program. We'll also coordinate with St. Peter the Apostle, Harvest Christian Academy, Delaware Valley Classical School, and Newcastle Charter to inform their students of this opportunity as well.
So that's $10,000. What is the $10,000 for?
Yeah, I forgot. I don't reply.
What's the initial there, someone to with that? Actually, I don't remember it updated.
For all of the groups that make requests, they don't just say, please give me X dollars. We ask them to specify. We have them to tell us what they did with last year's money, what other grants or requests they have made to the trust or other organizations, and what specific program they plan to use this money for. The Senior Center uses it to fund their exercise program. I think the library buys material, uses it for their programming kids. Our staff, of course, uses it for the decorations at Christmas, the holidays. The Historical Society, I forget what, they've done various things with it.
While Brian is looking for this, can I switch to our Falco real quick to give an update? I don't know if anybody remembers, I'm sure nobody remembers this point. I reached out to them to see if they could, if they would have capacity and or will to decorate more establishments throughout the city to include other communities during the holidays. And that was at a time I didn't know our budget situation, just to preface it, but here's their response. They have capacity for another 5 to 10 rats, which would cost, 30 per piece. So that's about 150 to 300 added to their request, and $45 per 25 yards of pine roping. So but the gist of the feedback I got from Arxafa was that they'd be willing to do this for this quantity 510 if we're able to help identify them which buildings we would like. One of the things I was suggesting was entrances to the city, Buttonwood School. So I'm not sure of the entire list, but it seems like it would be probably on a 5 side, number of 5, if we're to add anything. But idea here was that hopefully we can have every community, have decorations throughout holidays as well. But so I don't know if anybody wants to talk about this. real
Yeah,
quick.
public buildings and businesses.
Yes,
And
correct.
some of our neighborhoods are mostly residential, so there's not that many
Yeah,
places.
that's what I was suggesting.
Traditionally
That's- that's-
decorated.
Different spots, like at the Dobbinsville, Washington Park entrance.
There's no signs or anything to put them on.
No, they identify they would be difficult to find location, but that's what I initially suggested, just saying where the logic came from initially to have 5. So just an update that I forgot to share in our meetings.
So it'd be an additional $500 potentially.
I think 150, because I wouldn't go more than 5, so 30, 50, yeah, total. And I don't know what the pine roping amount they would need, given, 25 yards is $45. I'm not sure, do they need more than 25? If only 25, then it's $200 more, but I really don't know.
No,
Not additional.
No, additional $200.
Oh.
Additional
For the
$200
request.
to their request would be
Okay.
added to cover 5 more buildings. Sorry, 195 to be exact, 150 for 5 pieces, 30 a piece, and 45 for 25 yards of pine roping. I'm not sure, I'm willing to donate that out. So they need another. So I'm just making a quote right here. 195 would be the added. But we would have to come up with a list of 5 buildings. Or 4 in addition to Buttonwood School, I guess, or businesses. So 4 more.
Well, for example, there's a church on Morris Lane just across from the.
I mentioned that, yeah, church.
Yeah.
Are they in the city limits or does the city limits stop?
No, the city limits goes out to that little shopping center, I think.
Right before.
I visited it, was invited.
This one's right across from Reed into Van Dyke Village.
Yeah,
So it's in the city. Now, the other issue is the church is having this, and that's another.
yeah, I mean, I was just trying to, include more community. Yeah. Well, then if we can do, we're gonna add that to the next request.
So for the community collaboration, I mean, I think I've really seen here that they do something with Kerry Downey. So I
Oh,
don't.
it was the middle school, what's it called,
Read the,
But embedded within this packet is, the grant request form. And it talks about, that's what they're trying to do.
Does it get-
Supplement, you just pick it. It's the same form that all the other, 501c3 submitted.
it's just not a first page. It's.
so, Anthony, you were gonna read it.
So. They said it's come to their attention that there were a couple questions that were presented at the previous meeting regarding their application with the city of Newcastle. I would like to clarify that this prevention program would be made available to any middle school age student living in the city limits of Newcastle, not just middle school age students from Colonial School District. We plan to work closely with Colonial School District to recruit students from this program, but we will also coordinate with St. Peter the Apostle, Harvest Christian Academy, Delaware Valley Classic School, and Newcastle Charter to inform their students of this opportunity as well. Additionally, we have just received confirmation from Iwa Wajachowska, Youth Services Librarian.
Yeah, Miss
Children's
myself
library,
from
yeah.
library, yeah, she does a children's program.
Yep, from the Newcastle Public Library that would be able to run this program at the Newcastle Public Library.
That's great.
We believe that this location will provide all middle school age students living in the city of Newcastle the same opportunity to register and participate in this much needed prevention program. I hope these 2 updates help provide clarity for our application, the intended use of the funds, and how they can make the greatest impact on the citizens of Newcastle.
And what is the program? That's what I.
That's what I feel, I'm like,
I mean, is it drug prevention or?
Yeah.
crime
Yeah, it's a-
prevention?
So as CBD is implementing Project Alert, an evidence-based curriculum proven to motivate middle school students against substance abuse, provide skills and strategies to resist drugs, and establish non-use attitudes and beliefs in local middle schools. Evidence-based prevention programs can dramatically reduce rates of substance abuse and substance use disorder, SUD, or so I don't know how to say that. These programs can also be highly cost-effective. Rigorous evaluations have found many prevention programs are good long-term economic investments, returning more to society than they cost. The return on investment comes through the healthcare and criminal justice systems, as well as their employee productivity. Evidence-based prevention interventions do more than decrease drug use. They also reduce mental health problems and crime and promote academic motivation and achievement. Thus, these programs can have tremendous long-term benefits for the children and families they serve, as well as for society as a whole. If they say anything else, but
But can I just add that they're also planning to partner with the police department as well to provide this curriculum. And I was just about to make a comment about that investing now means that our police department is gonna have hopefully less to work, in future. Even with the recently hired professional that deals with these things, like the hope is not, this is a visionary program, I think, where, you're investing at this age, so you're having healthy communities. So, that's just kind of how I see it, I guess.
That speaks of, in broad strokes, about these programs have been shown to, but do they have data about their particular program?
Well,
Sorry, I forgot to bring my.
they didn't add. They said that they currently provide extended school care and summer programming to 75 students at Carrie Downey Elementary in Newcastle. The grant-based youth development program provides local families with free extended care programming, focusing on educational, nutritional, recreational, and social development activities. They believe that holistic approach to youth development assists local youth in becoming the best versions of themselves. CCD's multifaceted model of childcare helps youth participants stay mentally and physically active. They go on a little more about that. That specific program hasn't started, but that's.
In other words, this will be a new.
affirm that these are children within our city limits.
They would have to provide us proof, I guess.
But I think
I don't know.
I'm at rest in that sense, because if the library is the headquarters for it, is that what they said?
Yes.
Then opportunity to know that it's kind of like having my daughter and my son go to Miss Evans Tuesday and Friday, reading, right, sessions. Now they just started open them in the park. Not everybody's from, our border, so we give, library some of the programming for that too. Not all the kids are from.
They're not gonna
But they're
run an
community
extended
promotion.
daycare there.
No, but I'm saying there's 50 kids there. I know some of our neighbors because I see them. So that gives me comfort that this program also would hopefully have some of our neighbors,
Well, and
there
if
too.
they're
But there
working,
is not, but what I want to say is that this program that Miss Eva is doing with kids, reading program, does attract kids from outside too.
I don't think
That's a good thing too.
I think most of the people that we give to,
Mhm.
whether it's Encore or the senior center, or, the library, or even the fire company, they all serve people outside of our.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. I think it's hard to kind of say how many kids. I mean, I don't know that Miss Eva ever asked anybody, is your kid from Newcastle or is your kid from Milton or Wilmington? We really talk to parents where people are from, and we know that there are people visiting, but I don't think anybody did a tally, honestly. So I don't know, to answer your question, like how many would be from Newcastle, but I don't know even if they track.
but if they're dealing with the local schools, the outside.
Well, if it's in
the
a school,
majority.
yes, you should know based on students, but then, yeah. But in the library, I don't know if that is what I'm saying with other programs. Perhaps it's a question for library more than,
But we're not talking about what the other library programs do. This is a separate program. that
I understand,
is in the
I'm saying if Miss Eva is administering, I'm just saying that I know that she administers. I know it's sponsored by library, but I just don't know. She would track attendance there either, you know, that's all I'm saying.
Just the thing, the fire company, yeah, they help others, but other fire companies also help us.
Right.
So we're all, you know, what do you first do, second do?
Well, even so though, I mean, that's just one example, and I agree that there's some, you know, some help there. And even with Encore, I mean, I would venture to say that many children. So, you know, and the senior center as well. I mean, you know, there's many people that come here from.
There's not Newcastle community services. What do you take here? Or some, you know, there's visitors to enjoy that too, like, so, I mean. It's gonna be impossible to fund a 100% Newcastle initiative.
There's multiple sessions they have, so like an all day, half day.
Yeah, it doesn't specify, but it sounds like it would be.
$10,000, I'm hoping it's multiple throughout the year.
Or if it's in conjunction with an after-school program, then I would assume it would go through school years.
I'm not sure, so.
I can ask David or Tim to come to a meeting and provide any context.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions, discussion about the contribution list?
If you can ask them for that, or even with that information, and maybe provide the information prior to the meeting, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, I think I'll ask them to come, because I think, few sessions ago, it was the one question that came, and now we have additional. So for the sake of efficiency, it might just be easier to come.
But you don't have a meeting. Tomorrow's a meeting, and is it too late for them to come tomorrow? So your next meeting is not till July,
Right.
or your next budget meeting.
Next week, on Thursday, Wednesday, or-
Budget meeting.
yeah, budget meeting. Yeah.
Does anyone know? I heard, but I don't know if anyone actually knows why the senior center no longer holds events, so they don't have that income.
It was the staffing that I heard when I asked that in prior meetings. I think it was, you know, not enough staffing. Anybody else in the room that remembers that?
You mean like renting it for bridal showers?
Yeah, yeah, weddings.
My understanding was that they were
Yeah.
still trying, but they simply didn't get that many customers.
Oh.
But I may be wrong about that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I
Well, no,
just
we
don't
had this in
have
one of
it.
the meetings, we talked about this, and I feel like somebody said it was staffing issue, like they don't have anybody to help.
So when we were talking with the visual system, you know, the way it's arranged and how it's installed is built around the fact that the room's used for many purposes, including parties and things. And so it sounded like they were still trying to do that.
Would they let city rent the building for it?
We do rent the
Besides the city council meetings, like if we were to organize something, you know.
But you don't really get a discount. We used to throw a couple parties, Jim, but they were charging us full price. And this it wasn't a personal, this is through organization in town. The wine about what ails you and stuff, which we outgrew the courthouse and then we outgrew the arsenal and then, you know, just.
Just curious, you know, if we were to say we have staff that can open, close for them, you know, would we be able to host? Just curious. I mean, I'm nothing on mine.
They let you lock up after the meeting so that they don't have to go to the stage, right? Is that right?
But that's her, you know.
Yeah, so,
Like whether they let me or Jim or Andrew, we don't know. So.
right, yeah, I mean, that's whatever their security policies are, yeah, given that.
So I'm looking at, I'm looking at their form.
Senior center?
They completed for $5,000, and I'm wondering if we should ask them to come. Cause they just say we're asking for 5,000 once again to help sustain many health and wellness offerings. We need to get more clarity on what wellness and health is. The benefits of physical activity include reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease, reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes.
They had exercise programs, that's what I
They
understand.
have numerous programs there.
Yoga and salt, what,
I think my
salt
degree is
yoga,
called the-
you know, Pilates, and that, you
But I
know,
don't know what other programs they have.
but,
Yeah.
yeah,
They've got a lot of stuff. It's in the.
but I think that's what we're funding to pay the instructor, basically, to run the exercise programs.
Specific,
Yeah,
in a weekly or monthly or.
I think the yoga was weekly, I don't know about the.
Just so.
If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
All right, all, meeting's adjourned.
Rather have just asked if anyone there is.